Today I'm going to talk about the benefits of setting up a free zone company in Dubai and when it makes sense to set up and when it doesn't make sense to set up. Plus, I'm going to cover a few misunderstandings and misconceptions that people have about setting up a company in Dubai. So pay attention because it could cost you thousands if you don't. So what is a free zone company? Essentially, a free zone company is a special type of business structure in Dubai which allows foreign entrepreneurs and investors to set up a company and operate from Dubai without having to adhere to all of the rules and regulations that are applied on traditional mainland companies here in the UAE. The free zones set their own rules and regulations to an extent, and some of these rules and regulations may well suit you and they may not as well. A lot of it may come down to where you're from and how you're used to doing business. In the UAE, there are over 40 free zones for you to choose from. They all have their own pros and cons, different costs, different rules, different regulations. And so you can get bogged down doing all your homework. But ultimately, the free zone that I'm with, which is IFSA, based in the Dubai Silicon Oasis, I think is a good all-round general free zone for most business owners and investors who are coming from places like the United Kingdom, Europe, Australia, the United States, Canada, places like that, because the structure is quite familiar with how we do business in the West. And that's because it's predominantly run and managed by European management or people who have had their careers as management within the European Union or other Western countries around the world. So why choose a free zone in the first place, you may wonder? Well, if you look back on the previous video, I've already spoken about the differences between mainland companies and free zones very briefly. But if you want a more comprehensive guide, there is a link in the description about choosing between mainland and free zones. But this video is all about free zone, so let's move on. The first reason people may choose a free zone business is you can trade globally, bar few exceptions from trading in the UAE mainland for some types of businesses. For most free zone companies, particularly if you're in consulting or professional trades where you're trading remotely or trading globally, you can trade anywhere. And at the time of this recording, you can earn profits which are tax free up to 3 million dirhams, which is about 815,000 US dollars. And for my friends back in the UK, that's about 650,000 pounds that you can earn tax free before you have to start paying corporation tax. And the corporation tax that you pay will be 9%. Now, that is a temporary measure. Over the long term, it's expected that the actual tax-free allowance is going to be 375,000 dirhams before you have to pay any UAE corporation tax. And that's about 100,000 US dollars or 80,000 British pounds. And for those of you who may be looking at other sources, which may be saying that the UAE is completely tax-free for corporation tax, it's not anymore. The law has changed in 2022 and all companies are now subject to corporation tax, whether you're a mainland company or a free zone company over that threshold. Another benefit is personal income tax. Now, I need you to pay attention to my words really carefully here. If you qualify as tax resident here in the UAE and you pay yourself a salary or you take dividends, then you will qualify for 0% income tax. And I will say this again, if you qualify as tax resident in the UAE, you do not automatically qualify as tax resident in the UAE just because you have a company here or just because you're living here for a period of time. So it's really important that you speak to a tax advisor where you're from to find out if you're going to qualify. And for our friends in the United States, I'm afraid that your government's rules make it even harder than most people for you to be able to make any real tax benefits for you coming over to the UAE. But for most other people, like from the United Kingdom or in Europe, Australia, wherever else, you may well qualify as UAE tax resident, provided you follow the rules of where you're from. And the rules vary, so it's best that you speak to a qualified tax advisor where you're from so they can set a plan for you to see exactly how you can qualify as being tax resident in the UAE if that's your intention to get 0% income tax. Now, another benefit is 100% foreign ownership. Most foreigners are able to set up a free zone company in the UAE. And by foreigner, I mean people like me from the United Kingdom or Europeans or Australians or Canadians or people from the United States, wherever else, other than people who are from the United Arab Emirates. you can own 100% of your free zone company. And for people wondering, well, isn't that obvious? Maybe not so much, because typically in the past, you have required local sponsorship for a mainland company in the UAE and not a free zone company in the UAE, but people get the two confused. And it's also no longer the case that all mainland companies require local sponsorship. But again, this is about free zones, so I'll stick to that. There are fewer UAE regulations that apply to free zone companies, as I've said earlier. However, your free zone will have their own rules and regulations for you to adhere to. There's no physical office space requirement for many free zones, which is a huge consideration, particularly for online entrepreneurs and people who traditionally work remotely, where they don't need a physical office and they're used to working from home or from coffee shops or when they're traveling around the world or wherever. That's really useful to not have to pay for a physical office, a dedicated office, when you don't really need it. With a free zone license, you can sponsor your staff to come and live and work in the UAE. And actually, when you've set up your free zone company in Dubai, it's actually your free zone company that sponsors you and your visa for you to be able to come and live here. And another huge benefit of setting up a free zone company in Dubai is that massive concentration of other entrepreneurs and investors that you find here, which gives you opportunities to network with really progressive people and people who are doing business, they want to do a lot more, and you might be able to collaborate with them on future projects. So when is it not right to set up a free zone company? Now, the first thing I would say is if you're not sure if you should set up a mainland company or a free zone company, then don't go ahead and set up a free zone company. That's the most important first decision that you need to make when deciding between the two. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a link in the description to an article that I wrote, which can help you decide if you need to set up a mainland company or a free zone company. Your company sponsors your visa for you to be able to move into the UAE and reside here. That means your company is formed before you even have your residency visa in most cases. And it is possible for you to never get your residency visa and still own the company. I get a lot of inquiries for people who have no intention of getting a residency visa in the UAE. The problem is you cannot open a bank account in the UAE for your business if you do not have Emirates ID. And you don't get your Emirates ID unless you've got a residency visa. So that will make it really difficult for most people to be able to set up a company and actually operate the company in the way of charging for your services. And unfortunately, there are lots of agencies out there who won't tell you that. They'll open up your company for you, knowing that you have no intention of getting a residency visa, just so that they can make a commission. And it's only later you then find out that actually you can't open a bank account. Now, there are people out there who are offering bank account opening services. Apparently they cost a lot of money. I don't really see why you would need the help in paying for opening up a bank account. It's really super simple. I've helped my clients through my agency here in Dubai to open up their bank accounts, literally just for an online video that they get access to once they've signed up. I don't know if they can actually open a bank account for you if you haven't got Emirates ID. Perhaps that's something that they offer as well, which they can somehow bypass that. I don't know how they would, but whatever. The main thing is if you do intend on ever taking any money into your company, you'll need a bank account, which means you will need a residency visa. For the people who are already here in the UAE with residency visas, of course, you don't need another residency visa, provided that your visa allows you to operate the company and isn't some sort of temporary visa for a specific event for a few days, for example. Now, here's another reason why I would personally say, and this is just a personal opinion on this one, as to why you shouldn't come to the UAE and set up a free zone company. If you don't have enough runway, and by runway, I mean enough cash flow from your other investments or your other businesses, and you're a startup and particularly a first-time business owner, I would highly recommend you look at your sales targets that you reckon that you're going to achieve from your lovely business plan in the world of everything going perfectly and swimmingly for you. You half your sales targets and then you half them again to come up with a closer figure, and it's probably still not there yet. I believe that you need at least $3,500 to $4,000 a month at a minimum for you to survive in Dubai. And that is based on you being the sole person, like I am myself, going into a one bed or a studio, not bringing your family over. Because anything other than that, and you don't have cash flow behind you from other businesses to be able to fund your life out here, you may find you may run out of your pot of money very quickly and then have to go back home. And this comes after your cost of actually setting up the company. Whether you've done it directly with the free zone or through an agency, you still need to find the cash to be able to cash flow yourself. And that's the biggest problem, that people don't come here with realistic expectations or the knowledge behind them because they're first-time business owners and they're moving to the UAE, trying to work out how to start their business. You may find it's a lot harder and a lot more expensive than you expected. And if you want to live in nicer places, I don't live in a dump, but I don't live in the most lavish place. If you want to come here and have a load of experiences and go off doing all sorts of things, then you may need even more than that. If you're an experienced business owner, then you probably have other income coming from other places or some money behind you, where it's not going to be so much of a problem. But it's particularly those who are coming with unrealistic expectations, thinking that they're going to be making millions within the first few weeks or months of being in Dubai, need a serious reality check. And if you've calculated the cost of living to be less than what I've said as the minimum, then I would suggest that you go to numbeo.com and look at the cost of living calculators to compare it from where you live now to you coming to Dubai. And be realistic, because it doesn't help for you to put your head in the sand, not be realistic, and just hope everything's going to work out, because that will cause you stress. Money is the biggest stressor on the planet for most people. And if you're out here on your own with money, you'll be like so many people that I've seen before that have to go back to the UK or Europe or wherever you're from with your tail between your legs with no business and no money, and you're starting again. So please ensure that you have enough savings to last you ideally 3 or 6 months to cover your full costs before you even come here. You also shouldn't set up a free zone company if you plan to sell physical products or physical goods in the United Arab Emirates mainland. You can do it using a local distributor, agent, or logistics partner, but you cannot sell your products directly to people in the UAE mainland, and you certainly can't have something like a shop under your free zone license. The problem is these logistics partners or agents or whatever may charge you anywhere between 5% to 30% of your revenue for them to fulfill those services for you in the UAE. They're taking a huge cut of your margin if you do this structure via a free zone business. If you plan on doing that type of business, you're really going to want to look at those costs and then examine, should you be looking at a mainland company instead? Now, a really common one, real estate. If you plan on coming here to set up a real estate company, meaning you can go and sell the properties to people who are inside the UAE at that time, you can go and rent out properties to people in the UAE at that time, then think again. Real estate companies, one, they're a regulated business anyway, it's a regulated trade, and two, you're only going to be able to do that on a mainland license. There are some exceptions under a free zone license. However, it means you cannot do it whilst you're actually in the UAE, so you can't be that agent going showing people around, or have agents here showing people around. You can't do that, basically. So I would just say, if you're planning on setting up a real estate agency in Dubai, don't do it, not for a free zone, perhaps not do it at all. But anyway, a mainland company will be the one for you. So on to the last bit, how do you choose between the free zones? Now, there are some free zones that specialize in certain things, like Dubai Healthcare City, for example. And some are more generalist, like the free zone that I'm with, IFSA, in the Dubai Silicon Oasis, is more generalist, it's more adapted to professionals and consultants of that ilk. Some are better for Westerners like me from the UK or from the United States, Australia, Europe, Canada, places like that, just because of how they are structured and how they're run and managed. It's more familiar to how you do business in the West. Whereas there are others who operate in ways which are more sort of traditional, or may be more familiar with people from other cultures and other countries around the world, where someone from London like me may find it completely alien. And that's why I chose the IFSA free zone, because it's mainly operated by senior management and the CEO who are from Europe and have operated European companies, which is a lot more familiar to how I do business back home. You can set up your free zone company yourself. Most free zones will allow you to set up directly with them without the need of using a third-party agency. However, please bear in mind, For those of you who are from the UK, for example, you may be familiar, you can go online, you can set up your company through Companies House or one of these low-cost companies out there, but then that's it. There is no help beyond that. They expect that you would know your rules and regulations or get your own professional help. Now, using an agency can be beneficial for some. I've found that through the inquiries that I get, it's probably about 50-50 for those who want to do it themselves and try and save a bit of cost versus those who just prefer because it's more convenient or they would like the extra support of an agency. All I would say for sure is if you are going to choose an agency to set up your free zone business, please do your homework. Do not just look at the initial Google reviews because there are a lot of fake reviews out there. Also, do your homework in relation to their contract, really actually read the thing, because you may find that the low cost agency setup this year actually doubles or triples their fee in admin costs next year. And there are others who are not licensed agents who will just take your money and you may never hear from them again. So if you want help with getting your free zone company set up in Dubai without all the nasty surprises and also with guaranteed renewal fees, look at my company Handler Zone. The link is in the description. And also, if you don't want that help, if you are that person that wants to go direct and set up your free zone company yourself, and you'd be happy going with IFSA, the free zone in Dubai Silicon Oasis that I'm with, then if you want a direct intro to my contact at IFSA, check the link in the description, fill in your details, and I'll connect you with my contact at IFSA so that you can set up directly. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Like and subscribe, comment, share it with someone who you know who might be considering setting up a free zone company in Dubai. If you do want extra help, look at the information in the description. I'm Henriques. Thanks for staying with me. Bye.